Good evening.
Evening. Thank you for joining us.
How you doing?
Good. We'll just wait for a few minutes. We should have about 15 people joining us. Yeah. How's things with you?
Oh, just like absolutely living the dream, brother. Yeah, sunshine and happiness. I found a nice little piece of poem with today, so
Oh, epic.
good, real good. How are things your way?
Yeah, good, good. I'm a university student, so I've been at university busy with those things today. Um, Abby, how's the rest of things with Pest Free Howick team? We're always all over the place.
Yeah, kia ora, Hamiora. So I'm Abby. I'm the project manager for Pest Free Howick. So yeah, absolute pleasure to have you here tonight. We're so thrilled. Um,
Likewise, Abby. You guys do cool work.
yeah, no, we're stoked. I think we might have a couple other of our team members joining, but not at the moment. But yeah, no, we will wait and see. We're in a bit of a quiet period at the moment for Pest Free Howick. We're kind of just getting revved up to kind of crack back into the new year. But
Nice,
yeah,
real nice.
sure we'll get some inspiration from this webinar tonight.
Oh, we'll see. Who knows?
Does any of the gold cadets want to introduce themselves while we're waiting? They can be quite shy. We apologize in
And
advance,
if
but
you can, turn on your cameras as well.
yeah.
So, what's a gold cadet to get me started? What's a gold cadet do?
Sure. So we've been running a cadetship program in schools for the past 5 years. So that started out with sort of like a trial pilot cadetship, and we did 8 sessions with some intermediate school. And so, I mean, that was all sorts of things like trapping, going out into the bush, weeding, all those things. And then we've since rolled it out to a bronze and a silver stage, sort of like Duke of Ed. So
Yep.
bronzes for primary schools, we'll go in and visit them, now get started on the action plans, and then silver is intermediate, and then gold is our high school students. And we run that a little bit differently. So instead of going into the schools, they come to us and we do
Nice.
workshops and field trips and all that sort of stuff.
Bro, that sounds like schooling done right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the outdoors is the ultimate classroom, really. So, yeah, that's really what we try to encourage. I mean, we're an urban area, so there's not always that connection there to begin with, as strongly as perhaps other areas, and so it's really just about showing people what they've got in their backyards.
And there's heaps, eh? Like I'm always blown away with how much like biodiversity does thrive in our urban areas, eh?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we've got incredible stories of things like Weka coming over from Kawakawa Bay and giving us a visit, and Kaka coming in from across Waiheke Island, and yeah, it always never ceases to amaze.
How good.
All right, well, I think we will have some others joining us, but I think let's get started. So, could you please introduce yourself? Give us a little bit of a background to who you are, what it is you do, and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, brother. So I'm Sam the Trap Man. I'm just your friendly bushman, really. I'm I started my journey in the bush as a 12-year-old. I was one of those people, some people have PhD in front of their name. I probably have ADHD in front of mine. Like the classroom wasn't the best classroom for me. And so my principal at high school cut me a bit of a deal. He said, like, it's clear that a 10-week term's too long for you. So he kind of like sent me bush in the middle week of every term and then sent me bush again for the school holiday. So I cut my teeth in Te Urewera under some legendary bushmen up there. So both Tuhoi bushmen, but also like some dock fellas as well. So um, the fella Darren Peters is my godfather. He invented the dock line of traps, so dock 150s, 200s, 250s, and I was carrying his traps when I was a 12-year-old. So I'd sit in the huts in the evenings and just listen to the way that those fellas were thinking about the world. So that's really how I got my start. But I'm from Tairāwhiti. I'm from Gisborne originally. We're so from Gisborne that my uncle said I couldn't date a girl from Gisborne because there's nothing wrong with a husband, but we're probably too closely related. And my wife She's from down south here, where we're living just at the moment on the west coast of the South Island in Pounamu country. Yeah, got two beautiful little kids. Rehua is 6, and he is a proper mahinga kai practitioner, proper bushman. He knows pretty much all those plants that feed us and give us rongoa Māori. And my daughter's a Hāti fisherman, so she's 3. So yeah, that's how we live our lives. Bro, I've lost your sound on me,
Sorry,
sorry.
Eric. Ethan, you're on
Yep, there
mute.
we go. Sure, I turned it off for, temporarily. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, well, I'll hand it back to you if there's anything further you'd sort of like to present to the students about. Otherwise, we can go straight into the Q&A because we've got lots of questions lined up. But anything you'd like to touch on that you think sort of might be relevant to us, any words of inspiration, perhaps?
I don't know, fella. I don't know. What do you want to know? I'm happy to jump into Q&A. That's probably where you guys can where we can probably chop it up best. I spent time, or maybe it's useful, like um out of school, I spent time in the Ruahine as a track cutter, went back to Te Iruwera, was a dog cutter and a trapper, got shipped down to Fiordland, catching fio and takihi and all sorts of stuff and doing the island projects down there. Went back to East Coast, set up a 30,000 hectare conservation project around our fio at home. We had just 4 breeding pairs left. They were just about locally extinct, and over the last 5 years, I've bred them into being we've fledged over 136 fuel chicks, and now they're getting that he hit his roadkill. So I kind of done a bunch of different stuff in life, but bro, I'm open to questions. I'm not sure how much people know and how much people don't.
Sure. So we've sent out a bit of material for everyone to watch and get up to speed, country calendar and think like a forest and all those sorts of things. So they should have something of a background knowledge, but I will hand it over to our students to start asking some questions. Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself and yeah, go for gold.
Right.
I have a question. So my question for you is, what were the major effects do you think of Cyclone Gabrielle on New Zealand native forests?
Bro, big question. Big question. What's your name, Cuzzy, firstly?
My name is Jacob.
Cheers, Jacob. Good to meet you. And you from
Yeah,
Howick, bro? Where are you from?
yeah, I'm from Howick, but I was born down in Hanua.
Oh, mean.
Yeah,
Mean.
so yeah, and my grandparents live down in Clevedon, so
Dude,
I go down there and do some hunting sometimes as well, like for
nice.
possums or rabbits and pigs. I haven't gone deer hunting yet, but should be. I do want to do that at some
There's
point.
nothing wrong with some tasty rabbits, brother.
Yeah,
Um,
tried to cook them on the fire once.
too good. Yeah, right. So I think the most interesting thing about the cyclone is like, so we had Gabriel, but before we had Cyclone Gabriel, we also had hail, and those are the ones that made the headlines in the nationally. But we had seen increased intense rainfall events over the last 4 or 5 years, and so the really interesting thing as far as like native fauna goes, in my opinion, is that the rivers are becoming more and more sedimented because we're getting that higher intensity rainfall event. And so the soil is washing off the hills into the rivers and essentially raising the riverbeds and making them more sedimented. So there's nowhere for that insect life to live. And so that's the crazy thing for me is we're losing entire populations of fuel, literally because we're losing the ability of those rivers to hold insect larvae. So that's the fauna side of it. The forest side of it's fascinating too, but I don't think we're seeing the impacts of the cyclone in a big way in native forests. They were actually fairly stable on the hill. It was more the pine forest that slipped off the hill, and then also the farmland, the pastures that did fairly poorly. But yeah, I think the cyclone, bro, the biggest impact that probably was amplified by the cyclone is literally deer. like deer are just having such a devastating impact on that moss layer and also that hoodoo layer of ferns that when we get those high intensity rainfall events, it's just onto dirt, and so the dirt washes off the hill. So I think the cyclones amplify the impacts of deer, but I think the primary impact is as a hunter, bro. We need more of you fellas out there shooting the deer so that we can keep the soil on the hill. That's all it comes down to, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that. It's pretty interesting to know about that.
Why?
Good question, Jacob.
Yeah.
Come on, you lot. I know you've got questions there.
Otherwise, I
You,
just look real awkward, team.
you can put it in the chat too if you're really nervous and you don't want to speak up. Feel free to put something in the chat. I'll ask a question. Oh, hang on.
Yeah,
You guys
we'll
go for
just
it.
I should just mention that we have opened this up to our East Auckland trapping community. We'll let our students go first with some questions,
Mhm.
but everyone say hello to Jenny. Thank you for joining us. Glad you could. So yeah, we also have Jenny joining us as well, but I'll take it back to the questions from the cadets.
Hey, kia ora, Jenny.
I got another question on what is your go-to bait for rats, stoats, and possums?
Bro, those are like three like really interesting questions. So rats, stoats, and possums?
Yeah,
Okay, so they are three totally different species, with three totally different appetites for
yeah,
lure matrices, which is just fascinating to me. So our possums are very visual. So I always like to, with either my trap, make sure my trap's white and visual at nighttime because that will draw them in from a distance. So they're very visual. Either my trap has to be visual or my lure has to be visual. I
yeah,
find that like possums, they are very cyclical, based off what is out in the environment. So we know in autumn time they've got an abundance of sweet because it's the fruiting season of our trees.
yeah,
And when you have sweet, when you open up a possum's gut bag, they can often be like the bottom half of their gut bag will be full of like kahikatea fruit. And then the top part of their gut bag will be full of grass and leaves. And so
yeah,
I think that's a really fascinating thing about possums is we can't actually compete with the deliciousness of fresh kahikatea fruit or fresh torta or fresh tawa. What we can compete with is that grass because as with many of us, if we eat a bag of lollies, the first thing that we need after a bag of lollies is actually a drink of water. And for the possum, it's exactly the same. So the possum will eat all of these sweet, delicious fruit, and that's like bush lollies for them. And they're going,
yeah,
far out. I've eaten so much sweet, I need something fresh. And that's where we can compete. So I often like to offer a protein source in autumn or a fresh a fresh bitter rather than going for that sweet lure in autumn. So I think it's
yeah,
cyclical and then you get the spring growth in spring, the fresh growth in spring, and that's when I'll offer my sweet lures. So in winter time, in that time between fruiting and spring, you can use whatever you like, but it's just about being
yeah.
mindful about what's in that ecosystem. And yeah, sorry, is that too much of a nerdy answer on possums?
No, it's fine. Good,
Stoats, interesting
good
though.
info.
Like stoats are fascinating. There's two like I'm a big fan of like many of our trapping practitioners around the country and but I feel like people get really uh like tunnel vision on lures for stoats and I don't necessarily think that that's the best way to approach stoats. Um, there's two studies that were done, one in the Orungarunga Valley and one in the Ruahine Valley, and they're not quoted very often, but I think they're very integral to our understanding of stoats. And those trials went, here's a trap with an egg in it, and here's a trap with no lure in it whatsoever. Egg, no lure in it, egg, no lure in it, alternating trial. They caught 100 stoats across both those trial sites. And what do you think they caught the most stoats on?
To be honest, probably the unbaited traps because the stoats probably got a bit scared of that suspicious random bait just hanging around in that trap.
Good thinking, bro. But they caught 60 stoats, 60% of the stoats on the egg, and they caught
Oh
40%
yeah,
of the stoats on no lure at all, which is
that
fascinating. So
that's
when you
pretty.
run that through a statistical bloody equation, that means there's no statistical difference. So stoats actually don't need a lure. We've actually controlled kiwi to a level where they have bred successfully without needing to use lures, which is fascinating. So
Yeah,
stoats investigate opportunities. Yes, our lure is going to be better than no lure, but actually we don't need to get too caught up on particular lures for stoats. A piece of meat, an
mm,
egg, bit of mud and fat, just another dead rat you caught in the bloody trap last week. Anything's better than nothing, but we don't need to get real fanatical on lures
yeah,
for stoats, in my opinion. Rats are
that's
similar
pretty
to
good.
possums in the way that you've got insects coming on board in springtime, and over summer you've got that fresh growth coming in spring. You've got the fruit in autumn, and it's just about offering the opposite of what's available in that ecosystem to catch the rats out. And I cycle my lures through in monthly or 2 monthly rotations because we know that we get an extra knockdown each time we cycle through a new lure into our trapping network. So there's
Yeah,
real ability to be very creative with rats, in my opinion.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Sorry, that's
I
too dirty an answer. Is that okay?
yeah, it's fine. I tend to just use peanut butter.
Why not? It works, eh, brother?
Yeah, I did like this science project back in year 7 or something where I tested like 3 different varieties of baits for rats and peanut butter always won.
Peanut butter is great because it's got the protein and it's got the salt in it,
Yeah,
it's high in sugar as well. So it's a
yeah,
great matrix, eh? It covers kind of all
yeah,
bases. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. Interesting.
All right, Eddie, come on, we've got some more questions. I know you have. I've seen some of them.
All right, I've got one. So there is the goal for Predator Free 2050. How feasible do you think that is, or do you think we need more time or less?
Bro, is it Reese?
Yeah.
Cheer, brother. Okay, Reese, bro, good question. Mean question. My take on that is we could achieve it in 5, 10 years if we wanted to. It just, so I think we can achieve it with the tools we have available. We would need to build our people skills to be able to achieve that, and we'd need to build universities of bushmen like you, Reese, really to make it happen. And it would take investment, and it would take financial investment. And we saw the country's response to COVID, and we were prepared to put ourselves into debt as a country to deal with the issue that was COVID that was coming at us. If we were prepared to put ourselves in like high levels of debt to achieve predator-free status, I think we could do it within 5 to 10 years. It's just about how much resource we as a country are prepared to throw at it. And currently, I just can't see that happening.
Yeah, and if you can propose to our government, right, to get the funding,
Exactly, bro.
you
We
need to
might
have
need to change
have
the
a
government.
program, right? Yeah,
Yeah, might need to change the government for that one. But yeah, bro.
I can see that.
I think it's resources, but I think like we get closer and closer the more technology evolves. And I think we get closer and closer the more people like yourselves think about these things. Because realistically, I'm just an old bugger these days, bro. And my thinking actually isn't my creativity, my thinking actually isn't going to meet the or come up with the solutions for the future. That's on you guys. I know how to set a Doc 200 pretty well, and I'm slowly learning about AT220s, and I'm slowly learning about this AI thing. But actually, you guys, the way that you uptake this new technology, it's your guys' creativity that's going to have these solutions for essentially that problem, I believe.
Yeah, excellent.
What else have we got, team?
Courage, have you some? And I know that I saw some good ones that you'd sent
Yeah,
through.
we know Courage has
Fire
got
away.
something.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name's Courage. A question was, so I saw your country calendar episode, and you had all these traps set out for the fields, and I was wondering how you keep track of all of them.
Awesome question, Courage. Yep. Bloody brilliant question. So we do it in a few different ways. The first way we do it is that every 100 meters up the rivers, so that's kind of like nice and intuitive. The second way we do it is we actually just use Survey 123. So like a lot of people use Trap NZ, and that works, but for us it's really simple just to use Survey 123, and we use that, and we've developed our own app to be able to manage that in-house for our own needs. It's pretty basic, like even I can do it, so it's all good. But the actual more important thing than that is we've got a really good crew of bushmen that just remember in our brains
Yeah.
where all the traps are. And we know we have such, because we're out there all the time, we have an intimate knowledge of where each field's home territory is, each
Yeah.
rock each field prefers to sit on, where they nest. Oh, they haven't nested in their first spot this year. We'll go and check their second spot and they nest there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's evolved. Mātauranga is probably what I would call it, is how we keep track of how things operate. So when you got people out there, as you guys probably are on your blocks every now and then, like we got people out there all the time too. So we know each tree intimately, we know the cycles, and therefore we know where the traps are just because it's part of our environment, if that makes sense, Courage.
Yeah. Yep. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Technology helps though, because if it's dark and it's bloody raining, and it's nice to be able to get the phone out and know where things are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Jenny, have you?
Yeah, hi guys. I seem to be the oldest one here. Goodness. Anyway, hi. It's great to be here, Sam. I have a question. I live in quite a nice area in East Auckland, and I've been trying my best to trap possum for quite some time. We have a lot here where I live on the estuary. And my question to you is, I seem to be able to catch a lot, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know what to do with all the bodies. I've got carcasses everywhere. And I get to the point where I think, well, I don't want to keep doing this because I don't know what to do with their bodies. I can't keep digging holes in the ground. So I'll be honest, I throw them into our creek because I don't know what else to do. Have you any suggestions for me in this? That's one question anyway, in this dilemma I've got.
That's a great question, and I reckon it's a great problem to have, Jenny. So bloody good on you to start with. It's bloody successful in it. There's a few things, eh? Like, so as you say, you're composting them pretty well in holes, it sounds like. Which would be my natural situation, but you're catching too many, which is a good problem to have. Another interesting one is
Is it okay to throw it into the creek, Sam? I'm in an estuary, right? An estuary situation. So I assume there are eel. I know there is some interesting bird life around, which I'm sure take a good munch. But I seriously, I've asked council to supply a bin, which would be great, but no.
yeah,
do I freeze them? What do I do with them? I mean,
it's an interesting dilemma, eh? Like,
yeah, I just like I can't keep digging holes.
and the estuarine environment probably can't take too many possums either, just because it's slow flowing, and it's going to have, I can just see getting told off about possums washing up everywhere.
Okay.
The thing, there's an interesting idea here, and it may not work for your situation, but a nighttime burning in the brazier for biochar might be another idea. I know a lot of crew that are really interested in biochar and the positive impacts of that on your vegetable garden. So biochars are really getting that carbon back into the soil is a really good thing. So I wouldn't burn them at daytime, obviously, because of smell,
Oh,
etc. But like at nighttime, it could work. The other thing, yeah, I mean the other thing is you could just throw them in your in your waste bin, eh? Like
oh, yeah. So what I try to do is set the traps, and it's Tim's traps, which I don't particularly enjoy because they sometimes don't actually catch them where I want them to.
understood.
Um, so I try to trap on a Wednesday because rubbish day is Thursday. So
Yeah.
but it can, there's quite a few here, Sam, to be honest. And I have spoken to Auckland Council about, maybe setting some traps, but I have neighbours who unset the traps,
Have you
which
got
because of their
a
cats,
chest?
you have no idea. That's why I listened to the 2050 Pest Free. In an area where I live, I find it's going to be very hard to get that with people who love their animals and their pussycats and their
Yeah,
possums.
there's ways of achieving that long term.
Really?
Like, yeah, I think like we're seeing a lot. Council's really stepping into that space in a big
Yeah.
way, and we have around 75% buy-in. The other 25% have to come along on that journey in a lot of
Yeah.
cases, and we're seeing particular levies focused on predator control as well through the council system. So I think that there's an avenue for that to come along. But getting back to the possum thing, hey, if
Yeah.
you've got a chest freezer, another thing is like the dog food companies will take them. So
Ah,
if you've got a chest freezer, you can stockpile them, and the food companies will come and grab carcasses. So skinned carcasses, they'll just come and grab them. And I
yeah,
know,
but to be honest, Sam, I can't skin them. I can't look, it's hard for me to trap,
yeah,
but skinning them, I can't see myself doing that. So I
yeah.
think if I freeze them whole, maybe someone might like them.
I
It's
got it.
tricky.
I'm sitting on here on a call with a whole stack of young fellas that probably wouldn't mind a bit of
Ah,
pocket money doing some skins and bloody selling the carcasses to dog food too, just to be honest. So
there you go,
where
guys.
there's
I'd
a
be
will,
happy.
there's a way, and there's a good little hustle for someone. Hey,
Yeah,
some
yeah,
skins are not too, there's a good bit of money in possum skins, and I think you
yeah.
can sell a carcass for $3 or $4 as well. So
Okay.
the dog food boys are. Um, I got a guy from Tauranga that buys them, eh? So I'm sure there'll be one in Auckland as well.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, that's something to think about. Might help.
Jenny, just to add something to this, that I faced the same dilemma when I first started trapping in Cockle Bay and
Yeah.
was sort of running out of spots because you had these big trees with big roots and you sort of couldn't dig
Ah,
a hole everywhere. So what I ended up doing is I went and looked at the council rules, and you can actually bag them up and put them in the bin, as strange as it may sound. I don't know if necessarily the rules have changed. I haven't seen anything about that, but you can do that.
yeah.
And you can sort of choose to check it weekly on the day before rubbish day, or perhaps put them in the freezer. I've done that as well before.
Okay. Right, we'll
Yeah.
try that. Thanks. Thank you.
But I'm not an urban control expert either. Like I'm a bushman, eh? So that's a little bit out of the things.
I have something. So my grandpa's friend who comes from Malaysia, he cooked up a possum for us, and we tried the possum, and it just tasted like rabbit, but
There's nothing
it
wrong with young possum, eh, brother?
no, it's fine, but I wouldn't really like to eat it too much. Kind of gritty, but yeah, the dog food companies are a pretty good choice for the rabbits and for the possums as well.
All right. Could we have a question perhaps from someone who hasn't asked one yet? Any takers?
I'll ask a question while they all think on it. You mentioned Mataronga just before, and you're from Giza, you live in the South Island. How do you incorporate local Mataronga knowledge into the mahi that you do? And does it change depending on kind of what location that you're living or working in?
Yeah, it really does, eh? So I'm from Tairāwhiti. the mātauranga that I was taught in Te Urewera is right next door. So Te Urewera is here, Waiawik is here. So we're fortunate to work in a place where we are part of those same systems and those same pathways. It's the same forest. That mātauranga passed down from my grandfather and also those bushmen in Te Urewera is real localized to those forests and how they operate. Then I come down to the west coast here to Taipotini, and it's where my wife's from. And so, yeah, I'm like a fish out of water. So I'm having to learn a whole lot of other mātauranga from my father-in-law and from Roimata's cousins and from Roimata's auntie. And so I'm having to learn a whole new system. And what I'm finding is that the forest gets so cold here in winter that it actually shuts down for a period of time and things don't really grow and things get really hungry, and it changes the whole way the system interacts. Like I've had deer clean out our whole peakle patch. I'm going far because they were just that hungry, so they just ate them right down to the root ball, which we don't see at home. um, and at the same time, the people here are really tidal because everything revolves around, oh, the tide's going out. Now it's time to look for ponemu on the beaches. Oh, the tide's coming in. Now it's time to set your flounder nets and then go white baiting. So they're very coastal people. So the mātauranga does really change. And I find the people here are a little bit nervous to actually go into the bush, whereas we live and work in the bush at home. And so, yeah, there's a big difference. And yeah, it's interesting coming from Te Urewera, the Waiaweka, where things grow fast, things are in abundance, and so everything's trying to feed you and everything's trying to make you well with that rongoa Māori as well. So you come down here, and for me, I'm like, my wife feels really comfortable because these are the forests she grew up with, and I just don't have the read on the ecosystem that I had at home. So it's taking me a little while to adjust, if that makes sense.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
I remember going to Fiordland and being like, far, I've got to buy food from the supermarket or just live on venison and trout because, like, I don't know, because nothing fed me down there, you know? It's
Mm.
like, this place is crazy. And then I learned that, oh, there's a few ways to get a feed down there, but I just didn't know them. Yeah. Nikita.
Hi, I have a question about your trapping. I was wondering if there's any like rules or regulations, laws that make your job with trapping harder?
That's a good question, hey, Nikita. Like, I actually think the laws support good trapping. So for me, when I look at these species that we trap, I look at them as like they're taonga species to their home indigenous peoples and their home ecosystems. That's like, a lot of people are, they're bad things. They're killing our birds. We should knock them on the head. And we can do that any way we see fit. But for me and how I orientate to the world, like I know that a possum is a taonga to the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, and they make their cloaks out of them, and they see possums as we see kiwi. So it's the same with a stoat. There's preservation societies for stoats in Ireland. And so for me, I think that the legislation that is in place actually aids people to be good trappers, to keep things humane, to deal with A-class humane traps, and to set their traps in a way that is ethical. And so for me, I support a lot of the legislation out there because for me, it keeps us to a high standard, and that's what I'm about as a practitioner. I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, it'd be great to leave our league hold traps out for 3 days and leave a live animal in them. And a lot of people be like, great to be able to leave cat traps out there and cage traps, and it's just a predator. But for me, believe in doing a job to a high standard. So I think the legislation supports us to do that, and ensures that the bar isn't as low. The bar's quite high. Yeah.
I also have another question, and it might be a bit basic, but what got you interested in trapping in the first place?
That's a real good. There's a bit of a story there, right? So going to the bush, working under these old school fellas, and everyone was a generalist at that time. So you were a trapper, but you also caught kiwi, and you monitored bats, and you maintained the huts and the tracks. Like everyone did everything at that time. People still used horses in the bush, so everyone did everything at that time. And then the Department of Conservation went into this idea that if we specialized, we could be more efficient. And I remember going, oh, what bit do I want to do? And I remember going, everyone's wanting to cuddle things. Like everyone just wants to cuddle these pretty birds. And I was like, there seems to be like everyone wanting to do that. And it seems to be an oversaturation of that. And I was like, wow, it's not many people wanting to kill things. And I was like, there doesn't seem to be a lot of competition there, and I didn't really think I was a smart fella at that time, and I knew I could work hard and carry traps, and it was more like, did I want to be a sciencey, like nerdy cuddler, or did I want to go over here where there weren't many people and learn how to kill things really efficiently? So, um, I don't know that it was like, yay, I want to kill things for the rest of my life. I think it was more, where are my skills useful and where is there a gap in the collective team? And for me, I found my place in trapping. So yeah, sorry, that's a long-winded answer.
No, that was good. But also, a lot of people kind of like icked out about killing animals, but how did you know that you were like, that was one of your skills that you could do and place into trapping?
Yeah, so my grandfather was, so my parents were vegetarians coming up, eh? And I went to a Steiner school, so I came through like a sort of alternative kind of schooling system, and ethics and it was a big part of how we orientated in the world. And but my grandfather was a hunter and a fisherman, and so he taught me ever since before I can remember. I was not even walking when he introduced me to fishing. And so he taught me how to take something's life while holding its mana intact. And so that was how we were raised. If you're going to take a life, make sure it's for a purpose and don't take more than you need to take. And also make sure you whakamana that creature through death, you know? And I don't, yeah, I think in every part of our whakapapa, for all of us on this call, our ancestors were hunters at some point, our ancestors were fisher people at some point, and our ancestors were probably warriors also. So on every side of our whakapapa, we have had to navigate that space of taking life and taking life in the way that keeps us most safe and keeps the others, the lives that we're taking, as safe as possible. So I guess when I came to work in Te Urewera, I transferred that learning from my grandfather into the trapping space. And the old guys in Te Urewera, they were really conscious of that as well, because I'm sure you guys know by now, when you kill lots of things in a day or you kill lots of things in your week, it starts to actually impact you. And keeping yourself well during that process is really difficult. And the only way I've found to keep myself well in the taking of death is to make sure I celebrate that animal and my intention around that. And I thank the animal when I've caught it. And I'm like, the reason I've taken you is for our birds, or the reason I've taken you is for the trees, or the reason I've taken you, that animal, is to feed our family. So I guess a lot of people live in a world where they're disconnected from nature, and they're disconnected from their whakapapa, and they're disconnected from that taking of death that has been integral to human survival throughout generations, and they don't understand the healthy way of taking something's life. And that's okay. There's a lot of things that we don't understand in this world, but yeah, I think sometimes people can get a bit militant on things they don't understand, instead of my preferred way of interacting with things I don't understand is to to go and experience it so that I can understand it. And I feel like some people go, oh, I don't like killing things, and then they don't experience killing things, so they don't actually have an intimate understanding of it, if that makes sense. Sorry, big rant, hey?
Good questions, Nikita. Yeah, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Since you mentioned about you being a bushman, it just was a silly question, but like, is the bushman life anything like the one shown in Hunt for the Wilder People or something like really crazy?
It can be what you want it to be, I think, brother. Like, yeah, there's times where I've slept out on top of a fire. Like, we dug a hole, made a fire in it, packed the earth back on top. The fire heats up the earth, gets rid of the moisture, and warms you up as you sleep in your sleeping bag on top of it. Yeah, I've lived off, and there's times where I haven't had any food left except for being able to go out and shoot a deer or catch a fish. Like, there's times in my life, but I've chosen that. There's lots of other versions of being a bushman, and there's a lot of people that go home to their wives in their comfortable beds every night and their kids every night. There's lots of versions of it. So I think for some people, I've got an uncle who's living under a tarpaulin in the middle of the bush trapping possums right now, but he's chosen that lifestyle. There's a beautiful hut 500 meters away, and he doesn't want to stay in it. So, we choose the version of being a bushman that we want, I think, eh? Awesome question. Yeah. So I'm a catchment coordinator as my day job. So I work with farmers around biodiversity and water quality on farm. I'm yet to meet a farmer who doesn't value the land that they farm and value the biodiversity that they have on farm and value the water that runs through it. So I think it's one of these questions, we have to have industry. Otherwise, we don't get to be as affluent as we're used to. So there was a time in my grandparents' generation where they had one shirt and two pairs of trousers, right? And they had one car for the whole family, right? And there were maybe 3 or 4 generations living in a house. And for many New Zealanders, that's reality now still. But I think that if we want to continue to have our expectations, we've got to have industry, and agriculture is a big part of industry. But I think there's some real big wins that we're making in the agricultural space and enhancing the biodiversity that is active on farming systems and horticultural systems too. So I see a vision for our agricultural and horticultural systems where we do have kiwi fossicking through cow poos on farm. I think I've seen that, and we introduced kiwi onto farm, and they're doing really well. I see taka here feeding amongst the tussock that the sheep feed on. We've reintroduced taka here into those spaces too. So for me, I see real wins. I've got fjord living in the farm streams and the farm ponds now, and we're fencing off the waterways, and we know fjord need at least one side of a riverway forested, and so now we're planting those riparian strips up the side. So for me, we need our farming systems, we need our horticultural systems, because we need to stay economically viable as a country. But the real question to me is how we keep building more and more biodiversity into our farming systems. And I think our farmers are on board with that in the most part, eh?
Courage and I are doing, for our action plan, we're doing trapping at our school. And we've not done trapping before, or very, very limited experience. And we're wondering what your kind of basic advice would be.
Nice. What traps are you using?
I think we'll just be using kind of just rat traps to start with.
Snap traps?
Yeah.
Mate,
yeah.
cool. That's exciting. And have you got like bush margins at school, or like what's your school look like?
It's very concrete, but of course we've got big field, little bits of garden, little bits of greenery. There's a lot of space for rats and stuff.
Nice.
And
I wouldn't underestimate under the buildings, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and just identify those food sources, rubbish bins, compost heap under the buildings, a good shelter. Like, I'd utilize the cover because what we know is rats are scared of avian predation. They're scared of birds. So I'd utilize those little tucked away corners to put my traps so that the rats can travel confidently to get into your trap. Because if they have a big open space, then they're like, oh, the moorhawk or the hawk's going to come in and smack me. So I reckon that's the best way under the buildings, or like if you're along a wall or something like that, just put a sheet of corrugated iron or a bush, or tuck them away a little bit, because rats are real scared of wide open spaces. Yeah, that's one thing I'd be thinking about.
Excellent. Courage, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. We had trapping like 2 years ago, but I wasn't running it, and then it kind of just stopped. And yeah, so we're trying to like restart it again.
Nice. That's super exciting, eh?
Yeah.
And it's the example. I'll be real conscious about the way you guys are going about it and the integrity that you hold, because you guys are the brand of trapping at that school.
Yeah.
So I'd just make sure I was always real excited about it and speaking real positively about it, because the young crew coming through are going to see you guys, and you guys are the whole brand of predator control at your school. So I'll just be real conscious about keeping the enthusiasm and the excitement going, because that's the key to it.
Do you think like rat trapping and pest trapping needs like more promotion, like on social media, and like more people making like sort of trapping videos, like what they do, stuff like that, to make it more um known in New Zealand?
Yeah, I think Pest Free did a really interesting survey of how well known predator control was in households, and it was something I can't remember the actual number. I think it was 1 in 5 households recognize the Predator Free 2050 vision. So that's pretty bloody good. But I think the style in which we communicate what we do is probably really important. So people, I think, are really not necessarily interested in the dead animal. I think they're really interested in the like craftsmanship it takes to be able to create a good set. I think people are really interested in the bush around it and the food we can eat from it, and actually what the outcome is from doing the trapping. So the birds, etc., and the food, etc. So to me, it's about, and I think there's this colloquial sort of persona, this colloquial sort of characterism that is the trapper. And I think that that's quite nostalgic for folks if it's done well. So I think the storytelling around trappers, around their skill sets, around their knowledge systems, I think that there could be a really good media piece there. I know in Europe you have to be have a university ecology degree to become a hunter. And to me, I look at it and go, that's the level at which we should really be pushing our trappers, because it is quite a it's quite a, there's a little bit of knowledge associated with it, and it's actually quite a craft. So yeah, I think telling those stories is where we need to go, instead of telling the look at what I just killed. I think that can turn a few people off sometimes.
I was wondering, what's your favorite observation or learning that you've taken from the bush? So even in our urban area, there's always things that never fail to surprise me. So for instance, phoenix palms being a really good seed bed for pohutukawa, sort of like ponga trees, and they'll sort of grow out the sides of them and be really effective in that way. Have you encountered any similar observations, some ones that have really caught your attention out in the bush?
There's one I'm really fascinated in the role that mushrooms play in the bush. It's how trees communicate with each other as they send their roots down into the soil, and their roots of different trees are all connected through the mycelium network, which is the mushroom network. And so I'm always really fascinated with that, and trees will often pop out mushrooms, and those are signs of sickness, of not being well. And so quite often you'll see a mushroom pop out of what otherwise would look like a really happy, healthy tree, and you go, something's not quite right with that tree. And so the role mushrooms play in the forest is fascinating to me. And trees can transport nutrients from one tree to the other through that mycelium mushroom network to make each other well again. And so I find that really fascinating. So those observations of mushrooms around how healthy our forests are, I don't know, it might sound a bit hippie and weird, but that's probably one where I'm spending a lot of my thinking at the moment is the roles that, because we've got a lot of information around European forests and the way that mushrooms operate within a European forest model, but not as much in Aotearoa. So I'm spending a lot of time looking and observing that.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Well, the Good Nature A24 or the AT220 is pretty much built for that, eh? It drops the animal out the bottom. You don't have to touch them. I find if you don't want to touch them, those flipping Timmies are good. They tend to drop straight out if you give them a little shake, or the Trapinator, etc. So I think there's many ways of using traps and not having to touch the animal. But I think the biggest thing to me is actually not everyone's a trapper, you know? But we need every person in this country to have a connection to nature. So being out, if the trapping's not your thing, looking after trees might be, looking after birds might be, you'll find your role in that space. And for me, the biggest thing is just getting out into nature every day. And as Ethan was saying, it's about those observations. It's about forming that relationship with our ecosystems and seeing what's going on, because might be a bit weird, but I think that, nature sees that we see it. And so when we are out there interacting with it, it's a good thing every day. So yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're a trapper or a tree planter or, a bird cuddler. We need everyone, and we need everyone's skill sets. Yeah.
Anyone else have a question?
Question. How do you keep volunteers or like bushmen engaged to stay involved like long term? Like from your work, I've seen that you've like introduced trapping, but it doesn't like necessarily guarantee that they'd stay long term.
You're amazing. You're like 10 steps ahead of the game. So that question there is the difference between projects being successful and projects falling over. And so many projects across the country are not getting that right. So like that is integral to running a good project. And so volunteers want to feel seen. They want to feel like they're part of something. That's why they've turned up. And they want to feel like their contribution to the collective has been recognized. And how do we do that? And that looks really different for different communities. So in the Eastern Field Link project, which you guys saw on Country Calendar, once someone's done 3 trips, we put it up for a vote, and everyone who's there gets to decide whether that person has worked hard enough with enough integrity to earn our Eastern Field Link jersey. So those black woolen jerseys with the yellow logo on them. Once you've done 3 trips, you have potential to be voted that you get one of those, and that's like a big sign of like, you're part of the crew. And so we give those to people. When people have done really good actions or big actions, we give them an Eastern Field Link 5-pocket bum bag. Here you go. And special individuals that have done similar like big actions, we give them like an oilskin. That's how our crew like to feel recognized, is having something with a logo on it, but it's something that not everyone has. And so it's like seeing someone's action, like that's my job, is to like recognize the small things individuals are doing, and if it's a big thing relative to them, we just see them and we give them a little token of our appreciation. In addition, when our volunteers turn up on site, I've got food sponsors, coffee sponsors, and not that you're old enough for this, and I don't drink myself, but we've got alcohol sponsors as well. And so when our volunteers turn up to volunteer, we give them a bundle of coffee and food and some alcohol that really recognizes their efforts that they're putting in. So try and look after them in that way, and we try and do the storytelling, both in newsletters and social media, etc. But I think the big thing is just I like giving them gifts. Does that kind of answer it?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And you can really curate your offering and your brand, I reckon, and just have a lot of fun with it, I reckon. Yeah, build the personality through your offering. It's kind of, I don't know, it's good fun.
All right, we're coming up on 9 p.m., so I think we might go for one or two more questions. Has anyone got any burning questions that they've been waiting to ask?
When's the next book?
If I did have a deal, that I wouldn't be allowed to talk about it. And if I did have a deal, I wouldn't be allowed to say that it might be coming
Yeah.
out next year. Yeah. Yeah.
Cute.
Oh, I have a question. As someone who's like interested in technology, do you think it would be effective if you could like gamify like how many pests you've trapped and it like share publicly so you can be seen and recognized for your trapping?
100%. And can you please do that? Because like my son, who's 6, right? We don't have TV and stuff at home, because I'm just a hippie or whatever. But like he wants to go down to his mate's place every day to play Xbox, okay? And he wants to do what is it? Babe, what's that thing he does with the bricks? Minecraft. He wants to play Minecraft all the time, and he even goes down to this one like hairdresser's place because they've got those old school arcade like box. The game thing, it locks people in, locks these kids in this next. I can't make that for him. Can you make me like a trapping, like gamify trapping, so that he sets all his own traps and he traps his own stoats in that? But can you gamify that to kind of like make it fun and lock these kids in? Like that would be amazing. Um, any support you want with that, I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do it, but I'm happy to support it. Like that would be cool. And I think it'll get this next generation. If you can make that as addictive as Fortnite, bro, I'll support that 100%.
Yeah, thank you. I'll consider it and I'll try and sort it out by next year. Yeah.
Appreciate you. That's cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we've hit 9 p.m. I just want to check, is there any like last burning question that anyone's been waiting to get out this whole time? Just quickly raise your hand and we can try to ask. No? All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been a really special session. We're coming to the end of our cadetship, our gold award year. And this has been a really awesome way to round it off. We've got our celebration and prize giving, which we call our end of year festival, coming up, and all of the students will be receiving their awards there and sharing a little bit about their action plans. And we'll also have a couple of field trips coming up as well to round off the year. So yeah, thank you. This has been incredible. And on behalf of the Pest Free Howick team, all of our Gold Award students and also our community, Jenny, who has joined us here tonight, huge thank you. We really, really appreciate it. And I'll be in touch. We've got something to give to you. but we'll send that to you, and we can arrange for that to happen. So yeah, a huge thank you once again. We really appreciate it, and very inspiring.
Well, thank you for having me, team. And I'd just like to thank all you gold people as well. Like, thank you for choosing to spend your time doing this, because we need each and every one of you with all of your diversities of skill sets in this game, eh? So thank you for choosing to go down this path and do this thing, because even if you don't use it next year or the year after, you having that experience is really important to people like me in the predator control game. So thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We'll sign off, and yeah, have a great rest of the evening.
Appreciate you, team. Have a good evening. Ka kite.
Ka kite. Thank you, Sam.